Welcome to Season 2 of the Color Success Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie J. Wong. Catherine Cat Chung is the creator of the WebToon Cat Loaf Adventures, which is a slice-of-life story about cute pastry animals. The main character is a bread cat named Cat Loaf, and they love going on grand adventures with their other bread cat friends. Welcome, Cat. I'm so excited. She is the WebToon creator of Cat Loaf, which is a family favorite webtoon here. And so can you tell us a little bit about your webtoon and your journey as an artist?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Cat, and I created this webtoon called Cat Loaf Adventures. It's basically my two favorite things, bread and cats. And then I mashed them together, and then I was like, wait, I could tell a story with these. And then it just kind of blossomed into a comic, and that was how it got started, pretty much.
Did you always know you wanted to create a webtoon or be an artist? Like, what has your journey been to maybe drawing some sketches to having this hugely popular webtoon?
So I did draw comics when I was growing up, so elementary, middle, high school. Funny enough, I went to major in animation for college, so I was like, okay, I'll get a 9 to 5, make my mom happy, all that stuff. And outside of college, when there, I guess I fell into a depressive state because I couldn't find anything. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna draw for fun. So I drew Cat Loaf as a way to keep myself positive and happy and fun. And it was just like, oh, you know what? I could make this into a cool thing. So that's how it kind of blew up. So I drew it for me. That was the key point.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. And I know that people will be listening on audio, but for those that are watching the video, I have Cat Loaf right here. And so, the kids love to make Cat Loaf talk. But
Aww,
we read the entire webtoon all together, like story time before, they went to bed. So Cat Loaf is the main character. Could you tell me a little bit about the different characters and why was Cat Loaf chosen as the main character?
So I feel like, well, okay, so going into personality, all the characters I feel like in the webtoon are pretty much my personalities, but into characters. Cat Loaf is basically your average bread loaf, and it's like the happy one, the happy-go-lucky one. And then I do have tab. I know it's I do have Rilo.
Oh, I can't wait.
Okay, you know what?
You can
send
send me the one that you just opened. It's fine.
Oh, okay. You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is Rilo. And so Rilo is my favorite because even though I like promoting positivity and continuing to evolve as a positive person, I'm highly sarcastic. So Rilo, it just like I vibe with Rilo. So tell us more about Rilo.
Oh, okay. So Rilo is pretty much like the antithesis to Cat Loaf. It's just, that basic dynamic duo of woohoo, the happy one, and then the apathetic, like unbothered, like life.
Yes, that's exactly how I imagine his voice. Yeah.
Life. And then their third best friend is the cute Tabs, which is I named it Tabs because it's basically a tabby loaf.
Right, with the blankie.
It has a nice cute blanket, and because like when you have bread and you have blankets, so it's like a bread and a blanket. That was my concept for Tabs. And it's like, aw, it's like a security blanket, and that's why it wears it all the time. There are times when, oh no, there's a spoiler. There are times when it's brave and it comes out. Yeah. So
I mean, Tabs is like a really loyal friend, right? Yeah. They're all very loyal to each other, but Cat Loaf is kind of just, again, happy-go-lucky, doesn't have any plans, kind of falls into mischief without knowing it, and Tabs and Rilo are there backing Cat Loaf up. And so what I like about Tabs is that, may stay in the blanket for a while, but at the same time comes out when needed. So in terms of, I love that they're all kind of representative of your personality, because I think a lot of times people think, well, I have to be this or that. And if you really combine all the characters, they're all still you essentially. So how did you come up with the storyline? Because, well, obviously they go on adventures, but there's so many different characters, one of which is Lord Cinnabon. So, I have all different kinds of voices.
No, those are perfect.
Yeah,
those voices are perfect.
If these become like, an actual cartoon, like I am definitely gonna try my hand at the characters. So
I'll reach out if we look for voice actors.
I know, right? Totally a random life goal, I guess. No, but I mean, Ryloaf again, and Tabs and Cat Loaf. So I mean, how did you continue? Because there's many episodes. It's not just a 20 episode thing and it's done. So how did you sustain the story?
So with storytelling, a lot of the time it helps having three really diverse character dynamics. One, and then two, I was trying to create like conflicts for these characters. So what would Cat Loaf do in this situation? What would Ryloaf do in this situation? What would Tabs do in this situation? And Lord Cinnabon was our first ever antagonist, and their bunnies. A side note that Lord Cinnabon, because they're Cinnabon rolls, and they're so sweet, it's evil.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I just played on, yeah, it's just so sweet, but it's because it's so sweet, it's just evil. And it's like so cute but evil at the same time. So that was our first antagonist. But overall, as like story arcs progressed, I started thinking of how to turn this into a quote unquote life lesson. Like, what can I showcase with these characters? Like, we talk about friendship, we talk about like relationships and like character dynamics and all that other stuff. So sometimes I would create issues for the characters to have an adventure on, and then discover, oh well, here's how we solved it, even if it's something crazy like Cat Loaf being Cat Loaf and diving into weird situations. Yeah.
And a lot of butter.
Yeah. You're huge fans.
Yes. No, we've definitely, and you don't understand, like when you sent over the box, and I only gave the girls the little pouches because I was hiding it for Christmas, as I told you. And so they're like, how come Kat sent such a big box? I'm like, I don't know, that may be like the only box that she could find and like draw. It was so cute. So it's like when you become a mom, you become a liar. So but I think that that's an important thing, is that there are huge life lessons involved, and because the Cinnabons are evil in like a nice, sweet way. How did you think about how multidimensional those characters were? Because it wasn't just they were all, I don't want to spoil it, but there are some standouts like Home Row. And please tell me how you say the name in general. Like, literally.
Okay. All right. So I guess it's not really spoilers, but there are four. Well, really, one of them is more stands out more than the other four. But there are four Cinnabons that I kind of talk more about, and I kind of got inspiration from Pac-Man, actually, because in Pac-Man you had those ghosts called Blinky, Inky, Pinky, and the fourth one was Clyde, and I'm like, what? Like
random.
What? Why? You have three like really similar names, and then the last one's like Clyde. All right, okay. So let's do this with the Cinnabons. So we have Sticky, Melty, Crispy, because those are all Cinnabon
names,
characteristics. And then suddenly I looked at my keyboard, and then I was like, okay, we're going through the home row. We're going through home row.
Okay,
so
I get
it. Now we're going to the home row, and so I just pronounce it Aster Jekyll. Yeah.
That was one part of the story where I had a really hard time. I was like, And so I'm glad you gave him a nickname or
Yeah.
a nickname.
So
Well, that's another point is that
yeah.
you were adamant and emphasized that the characters were genderless. And you would do these spins of like, what would Cat Loaf look like in a more masculine role or a feminine role? But what was kind of your thinking behind keeping them genderless? Because I love that about the characters.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you thought that was a nice touch, but pretty much they're bread, and bread doesn't really have genders. And so it's like, this is also cool too, because leaving them genderless means that I could leave it up to the viewers to think of what genders they could be and mix and match. And I think I like leaving it up to the viewers sometimes to be like, oh, I think Cat Loaf is a girl or a boy, or Tabs is a girl or boy, or Rylof is a girl or boy. Like there's so many combinations all of a sudden, and then it's just up to the viewers to see how they interpret things, and that's the fun part.
Yeah, I if you ever do a follow-up series, definitely having some romantic episodes between some of them, because I'm sure fans like ship quite a few characters together, and you might have gotten a whole bunch of feedback or fan mail
Yeah.
about that.
uh,
Well,
everyone loves shipping.
yeah, exactly. Well, I'm a huge K-drama fan, so I'm just like, that's my thing. So going back though to this point in your life where you were really depressed, I mean, what encouraged you to say, hey, I'm going to draw, bread and
yeah.
put my personality and be vulnerable and, on paper.
So, I feel like art for most artists or a lot of artists, I think art is just like a great way to process something. And I've always loved cats. So like, I think the biggest realization was noticing that I wasn't doing this for my parents. I wasn't doing this for teachers. I wasn't doing this for other people. And I think that's the biggest takeaway is that it got me out of that funk. And I'm very thankful for how far I've come thanks to these bread cats. Yeah.
Yeah. And, they resonate with so many people, and it doesn't hurt that they're like adorable, right?
Yeah.
So, we've been friends for a little bit, just meeting off of IG. And I mean, just someone that I resonated with, because for me, Instagram is great and I want to create meaningful connections with people, but there's something about you and me that just clicked. And so
I know it's because you posted BTS or something. Oh, I don't know. You said you noticed that I liked BTS and suddenly like became really good friends. They're such inspirations.
Army, I can talk about Army all day and BTS because I resonate so much, and I'm sure you can go into that too with their music and their message. And I think similar to your webtoon, right? They're promoting something bigger than what meets the eye. Yeah, I'm glad Army does bring people together for sure.
Yeah, it does. I'm big. I mean, we're both big fans.
Oh, I know. Like it's ridiculous. Like I have never in my whole life been like this. I mean, I loved NSYNC, but my best friend at the time was just like, and best friend now too, like still loves Justin Timberlake, but like, she had like all the posters on her thing. And I try to keep it as classy as possible in the house with like my Mattel BTS dolls, but it's starting to get out of hand because I think I'm having more stuffed animals than my youngest. So I'm
I low-key wanna be like you one day. Be able to like, still have fun in life. And you have kids and they're so lovely. I love them. Yeah.
They adore you. They absolutely adore you. They were like, oh my God, we get to meet Cat today. Like it's having that impact on kids. Like I hope that, it does give you some warmth, because just knowing that they enjoy it. And my 6-year-old, she could read very well, but so she was like, I'm going to read it all over again by myself. And it's like really cute. And she's the one who said, Mom, it's not just tabs, it's Tabby Loaf. And so she's like going back through the story, going with a second pair, second eyes on the story. So, recently you've revealed your face on Instagram.
Oh man, I did.
You
Yeah, I'm
did,
like
yeah.
this is glasses. This is glasses version now.
Yeah, but I mean, tell me a little bit about your social media and just kind of what led you to have a face reveal. Because a lot of artists, yeah, they really they don't necessarily put their face out there.
I actually was saving it for like when I hit a milestone, but it you know what like um I felt like oh it's a new year. I probably should post something and I and then I guess I had an internal struggle like oh but I don't want to show my face. Oh but then I call it my shadow self, but my shadow self was like that's really scary putting yourself out there. Like that's you. And you know what? Or I'm learning that uh sometimes I just gotta face that fear and be like, well, what's the worst that can happen? I guess. So I put it up there and I got it over with. Um
Well, I think that's one way to look at it for sure. I got
yeah.
it over with, but I think it always is a challenge, right? What people post and like filter and how people respond to it. And so, what gave you some build help build your courage to say, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I know you went through a lot of internal dialogue, but
Mhm,
I mean, I definitely think people resonate more with stories too when they do know something about the artist.
mhm. That's true. I guess I have messages too that I want to share. I think my whole post when I posted myself was pretty much like um my journey in 2020, how I focused on me and how I started taking care of myself. And because of those efforts, I was suddenly braver, I guess, like Tabs. I was suddenly braver to, put myself up there. I love Tabs so much. I love how, like, when you take off the blanket, you see, oh, it's a tabby loaf.
Yeah.
Oh, it has stripes. Oh.
Well, there's layers to
Yeah.
layers, but also these personality layers
Mhm.
to the characters. I mean, I don't know so much about Cat Loaf. Like Cat Loaf is gonna do Cat Loaf, and that's
Yeah.
what's the draw of Cat Loaf. But I think with a lot of these characters and the ones you've introduced later, there are definitely these aspects. There's one character where you talk about emotional and physical trauma. And so, what was the inspiration behind that and putting that one out there?
I was going through a rough time, and I definitely felt because the end message of that arc was about grief and how to cope. So I'm very glad that people did resonate with that character. Um, and when I look back, I think I was trying to process what was happening, and um, and I healed, and that's the most important part. You can overcome anything over time, and I know that sounds cliche, over time. And
And I think to add to that, it's the time, but also the work that you put into it and the outlets that you find, right? Because
yeah.
I think there was some tangible demonstration of what you're going through and integrating that into the story. That's why I say, like, you're super brave for putting yourself out there. You might not have put your face out there, but you put different faces out there with like
that's
these characters.
that's a really good perspective, and I want to think about that because I definitely have more stories and messages to tell for sure. And I think you know what that brings back to my face reveal was that maybe that was just like a start of, oh, this is a start of everything I'm going to do from here on out. So I think that's probably what led me to finally put my face out there, I guess. Yeah.
What are ways that you took care of yourself in 2020? We hear the buzzword, well, I hear it all the time, like I need to self-care and things like that. So
Yeah.
what are some ways that you did that this year?
So I started seeking help, I guess, talking to supportive people and creating a supportive network. That has really helped. I got help, and I started being aware of what mental health is and mindset. And I never understood the point of meditation because it sounds all like,
It's hard.
like
Hippity dippity.
It is hard.
Huh?
It's hard too. It's hard. It sounds all, yeah, it sounds all hippie, and it sounds all like, what? Like, it's like you hear it all the time. It's like, is that what like fantasy warriors do or something? Like they meditate all the time. Like I didn't understand the point, but now that I've been doing it more often, I understand that it's there to help me process the thoughts that go by in your heads. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's also giving yourself a moment to sit with your thoughts and pausing out of a busy day, because we're all running around, most of us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're fortunate, we are working. And just with all the things that are going on right now, I mean, artists like you bring this healing aspect to a lot of people and BTS.
They're artists too.
Yeah. And so they put out a whole album for us to like make us feel better too and be therapeutic for them. And so I think that there's that aspect of artists that they really, really are important aspects of society. And so, I mean, that brings up the question. You said you have a lot more stories to tell. Where do you go from here?
No, I've been brainstorming, but like brainstorming is also a process. But I am very obsessed right now, passionate. I'm very passionate right now about mental health and mindfulness, because going through periods of depression myself, I completely understand how it's like. So I want to put messages out in the world to help people cope with dark times, I guess. And it's something I think everyone should hear. So that's my next project. I'm super excited, and I can't wait.
Well, you're starting here, so this is the right podcast.
I'm starting here.
For sure.
Yeah. The Cat Loaf is still like I still have it going, like I still have like my Instagrams and stuff going on in the background, so I'm still around if you want to like have cute cats and stuff.
and Patreon, your Patreon is out there.
Patreon still.
Cute pastry with a KYUTE pastry. That's also cute. A cute play. I guess like Rylof would have a blast with that pun or whatnot. I think it is so important. And so when you're talking about a message or messages that you want to send about mental health, what would those be?
That it's okay to feel how you feel. Yeah.
Woo!
And it's okay to feel how you feel. And you're not alone. And you got this. And I'm proud of everyone out there. I'm sure I have a lot.
Those are quite a bit of messages.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've been on, I don't know if you've jumped on the Clubhouse hype recently, but I just jumped on there a couple of times, and there's so many mental health rooms, which are very encouraging. And I think just being able to talk about this more, which is the whole point of this podcast, is that successful people still go through very difficult things. And so what are the challenges or areas of improvement that you're continuing to work on?
I think for sure I need to check in with myself because I'm a workaholic. So I would work my butt off, and then I would get burnout, and then my work suffers. And as an artist, like when your work suffers, then your everything suffers. And so definitely take care of me first, because if I don't take care of me, I know this is hard to say, because I was that type of person who would be like, I gotta work, I gotta make this, and I have to finish this and I have to finish that. And I was like, oh, I didn't get enough done today, and I'd beat myself up for it. And when you're creating, like, for example, when you're creating a comic that has like daily or weekly updates or whatever, like it starts having this this burden, I guess, like from overworking yourself. So I have to learn to set boundaries and be like, whoa, I gotta take care of me. Like if I want this thing to like be awesome and be successful, I have to take care of me first and watch out for myself. And one of the most important things I'm learning is to surround myself with supportive people who share the same values as me.
That I
Yeah.
think that is so important and well said, because the term, I guess, going around is hustling mentality, right? Is
Yeah.
that especially in our communities, and you can speak more on, the way that you grew up. My parents weren't particularly like traditionally stereotypically Asian, but I went to like a high school that's 90% Asian. So just that whole idea is like no one had a question they weren't going to go to college. Like that was just the thing that you do. And,
Yeah.
placing high value on quote unquote getting a stable job and so forth. Like I have such a non-traditional path. Like, yes, I technically have a doctorate, but they don't usually say, oh, you're going to become a psychologist with that doctorate, right? Or talk to people about feelings and thoughts. I mean, my optometrist several years ago was like, you have a PhD in clinical psych. What are you going to do with that? I was like, a lot. So I think just this mentality of always working hard, keeping your head down, times have really changed in terms of how society has treated and viewed Asians. I mean, there's a long history
Yeah.
there, but especially with the pandemic. So, I mean, I don't know if you can shed some light on like maybe the way that you grew up and how you've changed over time.
Um, I definitely think my roots have influenced me being Asian one. I wouldn't say I grew up in the most pleasant of environments because it's like, you know, work hard, get straight A's, get a 9 to 5, follow the rules, etc. So obviously me being an artist was like a red flag for them. Um, as much as I struggled growing up, I definitely think the struggles and hardships I went through was what shaped who I am. I know, like, I shouldn't compare to people who had worse struggles than me, and everyone has their own personal struggles. I feel like everyone struggled in somehow, some way in 2020. Um, those shape who we are, and that's okay. It's what we take from it and use it to help us grow into who we are now.
Yeah, and I think that shows a lot of your growth and healing, right? Is like most
Yeah.
people that go through very difficult childhoods, or many people have a lot to process, and it takes a lot of hard work. And particularly as a therapist, it's not going to be I'm going to walk out of my therapist's office and feel put together all the time. It's really, one of the people in the rooms yesterday was like, it's really tough work and it's messy and you're going to cry. And the real, for me anyways, I think when a client leaves the office or virtual office, whatever you want to call it nowadays, the real work begins, because you're not sitting with the client. They have to decide on their own if they're going to integrate the work into their lives. And so um, I mean, I think that you've done some great processing work through your art, but also kind of taking some inventory.
Yay!
Cat Love would be
You don't
proud.
know how much I look up to you. So hearing that from you, wow. Yeah.
It's great to see. And you know what thinking about those challenges that people are going through, and you talked about having supportive friends, and I think picking out a support network that you feel can really benefit you. How do you discern who can help you and who may not be as helpful to you through your journey?
Because we're all human. I feel like as long as we have there's some level of respect for each other because communication is great, but it's like if I think I can vibe well with you, one, I think vibing well with each other is important. But if there's respect and if they're supportive to each other, like it's different when you say it versus showing it. So as long as there's that going on, like I mean, this goes with everything too, like friends, relationships, um, anything across the board. But as long as there's that sort of vibe, with each other, then yay. But most people are generally really awesome. So the people I've been meeting, thankfully, are awesome, such as you. You've been nothing but nice, and we vibed on VTS, and like, see, there you go. See, just you just find people like Stephanie.
Oh,
Just
that's
find
so
people like
sweet.
Stephanie, and your life is set.
Uh,
Yeah.
I see it when you do that, the yay, it totally has that cat low vibe. So I'm like really happy. And you know, I so believe in you, and I want to just encourage you. Maybe it's a Kickstarter with the cartoon or something, you know,
Oh,
because I just, the characters are just, it's not like a time limited thing, and like you
yeah.
said, there's so much to go into it, but of course within reason and boundaries, not to like put tension on you. But I think one thing that people really worry about is becoming an artist, how competitive it is, and already with social media there's a lot of comparison. So how do you cope with that?
So there is probably the reason why I guess my parents too uh didn't support me being an artist at first is the whole starving artist um mentality. You don't know if you're going to make like as much money as a doctor or whatever. Um and it is hard. Um it is hard, money aside, because like there are plenty of jobs. As if you The thing about opportunities is that you gotta look for them, one. So there are plenty of opportunities wherever you look. I feel like, as being human and being an artist, like there's something deep in here that just wants to be creative, and you can't turn it. It's like telling me to stop breathing. Like, you just want to be creative and you just want to put stuff out there. And I think that should be the mindset for doing art, is just like, do it because you like doing it, and not compare yourself to everyone. It's hard. It is hard because you see all this cool stuff, but they're on their own journeys too, and they also want to do art. So the only thing you can focus on is your art. So put yourself out there. Yeah, see, this is another lesson for me. Put yourself out there.
Yeah, it reinforces your
Yeah,
and I think that's the thing, is when people verbalize their rationale behind their actions, you start to see that there really was a lot of thought put
yeah,
into it and not just an impulsive decision. But I think what you're saying applies not only to artists but to many, because I think even with podcasting, right, there's a creative outlet for me. It's not about, you know, making money or making my practice full, because luckily it is. There's a lot of people to help. But I think just reaching a broader amount of people, that audience, to share this mental health discussions that happen. I'm going to have a children's author. She wrote a book, and it has diversity in it, on another episode in February. And so I think ways that you guys are giving back and sharing these messages is so important. And you're so right about that social comparison piece, because a lot of people can get in their heads, and you know, social media is filtered.
yeah. I didn't know what to say. I was like, I'm so happy for you that you have so many episodes being lined up, and I'm like so excited the about other people also sharing the messages, because
Absolutely.
they're important, and I think more people should hear them. Yeah.
And you know what? It's not, I'm like, I have a business mind, even though like I became a psychologist.
Yeah.
I like struggled between going clinical or industrial organizational, but I was like, my rationale is if I become clinical, then I can do IO, but I can't see patients the other way. But I'm like, wow, you could write a children's book. You could have like all these different mental health messages about, you know, finding your adventure or happiness, because essentially like you've written like 20 children's books in this series. So why not
Yeah. Why
repurpose the
not?
content,
Uh-huh.
right? So, um, and I just think that, you know, you've done such amazing things. So not to like, again, put pressure on you, but is there something special or a sneak peek of something that you're working on now?
Um,
Or just something, just a little teaser? I know when BTS says that, they just say like one syllable and you're like,
What?
I don't know what that is. Because they're like, we can't say anything. And it's like
Oh, for Cat Loaf or for like my new endeavors?
for your new endeavors, for Cat Loaf, whatever you want to share.
Okay. Potato.
I was gonna ask.
Potato.
They love potato.
Oh, everyone loves potato.
Really?
Oh man.
I love
Yeah.
when you dressed her up in a
In a potato outfit.
Well, the Pikachu costume too.
Well, that one too.
Yeah. So for those that are have not watched, read the webtoon yet, Potato is definitely a special character in there that becomes really close friends with the trio. So definitely look out for that, and read all of Cat Loaf so that you'll be prepared for Potato's spin-off, or however you want to call it. I mean, there's so many ways that you could spin off from the original series, that there's so many lovable characters in there.
I'm so glad you think so. That definitely inspires me to create even more lovable characters. Yeah. Now I'm inspired. Now I want to create some art. that's how it should be. See, you gotta find supportive people who just want to inspire you, and you're like, oh, okay, let's get going. Let's go. Well, and then you just do it.
Yeah, and truly supportive people can really make you feel you can just take risks. Again, calculated risk, but I think, even when we were talking around the holidays and you're putting out, more pre-orders for Ryloaf, I was like, dude, let's do this. Like, let's
do this.
Let's put this out. Like, people are going to buy these up. And so I know that, again, people are just clamoring for new stuff from you. And I think just to feel encouraged that people still are fans. And obviously you have two little fangirls here that are very young and just can't wait. Like, I can't wait. They went to Target, so we'll have a little alone time, quiet stuff. But I can't wait to tell them that little sneak peek, because they'll just freak out. So for artists that are looking, or aspiring artists, so to speak, what advice would you give them?
Be yourself. Yeah, that's because, look, this is me, and I'm on the plate. Cat Loaf is pretty much me, and then there's Ryloaf and Tabs, and be yourself. Do work that you want to draw, or make art if you're a dancer, a video editor, or whatever art you are. Yeah, because when you put yourself out on the plate, like, people see the passion that you poured into the work, and that's what we as the viewers see too. And that's generally like the best work coming out from you is the work, the passion you pour into your work, and you on the plate, I guess, in a way.
That's fantastic. And I think things kind of come into place as well. So how did your art then catch the eye, or did you submit to WebToon? Because that's another thing, right? That's another level, because there's so many different levels to art. So what even led you over to WebToon and to continue on that journey?
I think I was just shopping around for places to, post my art. So there's social media, and WebToon being one of them. So I just started posting, and I guess they saw my comics, and then they picked me up. And I'm like, okay, I got picked up. Okay, this is great. I didn't think, you never know. I didn't think it'll happen, but wow, I got picked up. And then you don't know where life takes you. Just so the act of, putting yourself out there, it can be scary. But you don't know what happens. Like, I guess the mindset pretty much is think of the possibilities and the opportunities that come from putting yourself out there. And that's awesomest thing ever. Yeah.
What are ways that you would advise people or encourage people to deal with haters?
It is hard. It is hard, especially since they're protected by the screen. So it is hard. Number one, do not engage.
I like that.
Do not engage.
Yeah. Go in your blanket.
Yeah. Go. Do not engage. Number two. How do I put this? What they're saying is because they're probably jealous. Like it has nothing to do about you, and like as long as you're not spreading that back, like spreading that hatred back, then you're good. You know, at the end of the day, I guess this is just more of a message for me, once again, reaffirming, you know, at the end of the day, that you're here for you, and you're here just making art, and just focus on you. You can do it. Just keep going. Just what? What hater? What? And and you're the best thing, like for every like hate comment, there is usually thousands of or hundreds, thousands, whatever, a ton of fans that support you. Um, and so those people are the ones that you should really focus on and treasure the most, because they those people are really here to support you. So ignore everyone else and just focus on doing what you're doing. Be awesome, and you got this.
Yeah, and I think again, I see you embodying all three of the main characters, because there's like, Cat Loaf, who's just being Cat Loaf, and then Tab's like, go in your blanket, don't engage. And there's Ryloaf is like, yeah, like fa na 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 na. That is our favorite. My kids were like busting up when I was singing that song. But that's great advice. And I think a lot of times we are needing someone to remind us that. How do you advise people to find maybe mentors or supportive people? Because it can be really difficult when artists do become super popular like yourself and maybe not be as reachable as in the past.
So as much as I have grievances about social media is like a double-edged sword. It's just how you use social media in this time. Social media, especially during this pandemic. Oh, we need social media.
Yeah. Or you're just not talking to anybody.
Yeah, we need social media. I think it's definitely how you use it. I'm lucky enough to have met Stephanie through this Asian Hustle Network group on Facebook. So thankful. Oh my goodness. And it's groups like that. Like it doesn't have to be like, it could be like an anime group. It could be like like a BTS group. It could have been any group. And that's when you start finding people and start networking. And I never thought I would be on a podcast, but here I
am. I'm so glad. I was just like, oh, I don't know, Kat will do it, but I have to ask because I think you have such an important story.
I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah. I'm just so grateful that you came on the show and just spreading your warmth and your insight, because it's so multidimensional. I can't stress that enough in terms of people's personalities and accepting the apathy with the happy, with, I want to just, hibernate kind of a thing. And so it's just so inspiring, and it resonates so much with everyone in my family. And so, it's amazing. And so it's really funny because my husband doesn't read with us. He hasn't read a book since like, I don't know how long. He reads the internet, so he's very smart, but he's just like not a book person. But I think there's something so special about it, because my husband knows how important you are to us, because he's like, oh, what time are you talking to Cat Loaf? I'm like, no. And they go, Daddy, her name is Cat, not Cat Loaf.
That's so funny.
So he knows how important you are to us, and we just appreciate you so much. I mean, is there I'd like you to just at this time, like anything that you want to plug, or tell us your social media handles and like how people can connect and, read the webtoon, buy your merch, and support you.
I'm just so thankful for you. Oh my goodness. Thank you for supporting me. I love how you say that I have a lot of layers, because it's hard when you have social media and they just see one aspect of who you are and not realizing I also have layers. I'm human too. And thank you. As for social media, Cat Loaf Adventures on WebToon. Instagram and Twitter is Cute Pastry. It's spelled Kyute pastry, because it's a play on. And potato.
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 I can't tell you how happy I am about this. Like, and I just see Cat Loaf. It's so fitting because Cat Loaf is just lying on top of my chair here, and I'm like, wow, I need to talk to him in therapy. And then Tabs is like right here, so that could be another spinoff as well of like cats going to therapy. I just like my mind just runs in all different places, but
That's
I just
my
think
mind too.
Yeah, I think there's so much potential here for things beyond just your original creation, and I'm just so excited to see what the future holds for you.
Me too, and you too with your podcast.
Thank you so much, Kat. Thank you so much for listening to the Color Success Podcast. Listen, like, subscribe on all major streaming platforms, YouTube, IG, and if you want exclusive content, you can join our Patreon. All links can be found at colorofsuccesspodcast.com.